and welcome in to the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire, where you can always read the numbers or whatever else we have on our shirts, because, you know, we're all commentators and we know how annoying it is when you go to a ball game and you can't see the numbers. And I had one of those games this weekend. And so we just, whatever's on our shirt, you can read it. So that's what we were doing, that for you, for your benefit. That's what we do. Well, guys, we appreciate you for joining us, whether you're watching on YouTube, you're listening on Spotify or Apple, iTunes, wherever it might be. Thanks for finding the podcast. This is our pregame show. It's brought to you by the Oxford Falls and Sizemore Catering. You can visit them at theoxfordfalls.com. You get free shipping on all orders over $100. Get you some comeback sauce, all kinds of sauces. Later in the show, we're going to talk about tailgating food. And if you're going to be tailgating, you need to have some Oxford Falls comeback sauce or any of their sauces. Go check them out and see what they have. Trust me, you're going to want it at your tailgate. And somebody you might not want at your tailgate, I don't know, Jared Schatz. He's going to be with us here. Yeah, I know he was at Mississippi State this weekend up there for the big Tennessee game, but the voice of the Germantown Mavericks, Jared Schatz, on the podcast.
Oh, what a wild weekend of high school and then college football in the state of Mississippi. Well done, the SIP. Also, a huge shout out to those tremendous football radio color analysts out there that keep us on our toes. The spontaneous, sayings that we get, and we have a good one on the show for this one.
Of course. I mean, a color analyst is great. You have a good color analyst, it makes you sound 10 times better. You have a bad one, well, we won't go there. Anyway, who doesn't have a bad color analyst, and that is Jake Wimberly. Wimberly, thanks for being on the podcast.
Absolutely. And look, excuse me, if you have a bad one, here's what you do. Fire them, right? No, I'm kidding.
Mute.
Hit that I have a great real quick. I love mine.
I've got a couple.
Kirby Green is awesome. Yeah.
I've got a couple for high school and for junior college.
Yeah, got some. Hey, look, Schatz did amazing. He made me sound really good at Hines this past week, so appreciate him for that. Look, we've got some great talent in this state, and shout out to all of them. I don't have anything on my shirt; it's just a black shirt, so there's nothing to read here tonight.
Well, that's good. Well, I could read that better than I could what I had to look at this weekend on some of the ball games that I was doing. But also, Brandon Davis, he was a longtime color analyst. Now he's jumping back over into the play-by-play ranks at Warren Central, the Vikings. Brandon Davis, thanks for being on the pod.
Yeah, I moonlight as a lot of things. I'm the board attorney here, keeping us out of trouble, wearing my tie, and I've got a Hawaiian shirt on today. But I have decided that I want to be a fired college football coach, so I went and bought me a Harley Davidson, and I will be the new head coach at Arkansas. So, yeah, good to be here.
The money collar. Get that money collar out, right?
Yeah.
when you do the press conference, right?
Did you guys see what Clay Travis tweeted? That he said that he ought to ride that thing out on a motorcycle out onto the field at Neyland Stadium.
He also
Bobby Petrino this weekend. How awesome would that be?
I would have no problem being a fired college football coach with the buyouts these days.
Yeah, for real. I wish I could make enough money to be bad at my job, right, and get paid to go away. Yeah, that would be nice. But changing gears quickly before we get into the meat of our podcast, I have to make my shout out this week to Bowling Green, the school out in Louisiana in the MAIS ranks. They played Leake Academy this weekend, and if you probably know, Leake Academy had a tragic passing of Ava Byers, one of their cheerleaders, and Bowling Green took up a love offering, put it out on social media, wanted a love offering before they came to Madden. Everybody was to show up. If you wanted it, you could give it to the coach or the administration. They put it in an envelope. And then when they came to Leake Academy, they handed it to Brian Pickens, head coach, administrator there at Leake Academy. And then he presented it to the family of Ava Byers. Also at the game, they presented the school with a dogwood tree that they could plant on campus somewhere at Leake Academy in memory of Ava Byers. So just hats off, man, to the nice folks out in in Bowling Green. You know, that's Louisiana, right? You think you know, not that that's not, you know, what it is, but you think Mississippi, but that's Louisiana, and just a great gesture between rivals and opponents. And that was actually the first time that they'd ever played. It's not like these are old friends or old school, you know, rivalries or anything. This is the first time that they'd ever played. There'd never been any interaction between Bowling Green and Link Academy before. But so hats off to the administration, the players, family, parents, supporters, everyone at Bowling Green for that great show of compassion to the family of Ava Byers and everyone there at Leak Academy. So that does wrap up our pregame. We're going to step aside for a break. When we come back, we'll jump right into it here on the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire.
At C Spire, we've never waited on the future. We've built it by harnessing the power of advanced technology to transform how we all live and work, elevating connected living, accelerating tomorrow's business growth, and leading the AI revolution, all while staying true to our core purpose. You think we're done? Just wait. There's more to see. C Spire, customer inspired.
She had a good coach that pointed her in the right direction, and we were able to get to her quick enough, and she's young and healthy enough that she's going to have a great outcome.
I would say the biggest difference is just how Dr. Moss explained everything. I went into my second surgery knowing exactly what after surgery was going to look like, what during surgery was going to look like, and it just made me feel a lot more comfortable and confident with my outcome.
1st and 10 at the 25-yard line. Trip Smith takes the snap, wants to throw towards the end zone, has a man out there, and the ball is called for the touchdown. Tylen Hutchins down the right sideline makes the catch with 34 seconds left. A 25-yard touchdown reception has tied the game at 24 with a PAT upcoming.
Oh, I feel like an itchy pig under a rail fence.
Welcome back into the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire. This is our first quarter. That's brought to you by Mississippi Sports Medicine. Same-day appointments available and no referral needed. You can visit MississippiSportsMedicine.com to schedule an appointment. As always, you know, our first quarter, it's reactions and overreactions. And so we'll take a look back at what happened on Friday night, of course. Friday night, the big one that everybody was talking about, number 1 versus number 2, Tupelo versus West Point. Who's the better wave? And the green wave greater than the gold wave, because West Point gets to win 28-21, guys. I mean, some of us on the panel picked West Point, but I don't think any of us are shocked that West Point won. That was a great game.
Yeah, right. I mean, when you talk about the two teams and the makeup of the two teams, both teams were favored in the preseason and probably still favored, for sure, West Point to win their respective classifications. And for West Point now, they've gone up twice to 7A, Starkville and now Tupelo, and beaten somebody out of their class. And look, this is a team that returns a ton of talent this year, all 11 starters on defense. Not shocked by it, but look, again, Tupelo, I wouldn't want to be playing Tupelo this week, Hartfield.
No, you nailed it, Jake. I mean, I took Tupelo because of our pick'em, and I couldn't go out on a limb. But I'll tell you this: am I surprised, or any of us surprised, like you said, Breck, that the Green Wave won the ball game? No, I mean that's just how they're built. And I thought the weirdest thing coming into this ballgame, we talked about it, is the fact that West Point had the more experienced quarterback throwing the football. I mean, name how many times you hear West Point has the more experienced quarterback actually throwing the football, but that's kind of how it's gone this year with J.J. Hill running the rock. But congrats to the Green Wave, man. West Point, they not going to surprise me if they just run the table at this point, and good luck to Hartfield, like you said, Jake.
Yeah, Brandon, we know you're close with Coach Chambliss up there at West Point, or excuse me, not Chambliss anymore,
Yeah.
Morgan now. See, I'm going way back. It's Coach Morgan.
Yeah,
You're
Morgan.
close with him, so big win for the Green Wave.
Well, I didn't pick West Point. I picked Tupelo, and because when you are at home and you have a defense that they have, especially defensive line, that usually is an advantage for you. And that's what I'd said. If it'd been a neutral site, I would have picked West Point, but it being at home, I picked Tupelo. But it just goes to show you how strong of an offensive line and running game that West Point has, that they can go into Tupelo with really, I mean, what, Jake, 2 or 3 D1 defensive linemen on that Tupelo squad and can come away with a victory out of that. It's a tough place to play as well. I mean, Jared and I have seen that with Warren Central, and super impressive. I just don't see how anybody in 5A can match up with the Green Wave right now if they had to play today or tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we all said, 5A was West Point's to lose once again, and now we've just gotten the more evidence of that. So that was a great one there. But the Wave, and we'll talk more about West Point in our second quarter, and maybe who's next in line. But we'll move on to another streak that was broken. We didn't mention that. Tupelo's, what was it? We said 18
games
win streak was broken. And now also Grenada had a streak broken as well, as Grenada falls to Oxford 35-17. And Jared, I think it's almost 18 for them as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Grenada Chargers, 18-game winning streak coming off that state championship a year ago. And look, it looked like they, we said a couple weeks ago, we did as a panel, that Oxford was probably one of the most underrated programs this year, teams this year. And obviously they're proving that week in and week out. But Grenada, man, I mean, coming off that championship a year ago, 18-game winning streak, and it was snapped, and it looked like they were on their way. It was 17-7 at halftime. I mean, Grenada was, running the football. They had Trusty play actioning like he's used to in that offense. And look, Chris Cutcliffe, he goes to the locker room, he makes adjustments, and here they come and win the ball game. And there's never a lead that's too big or too much to overcome for Oxford and Coach Cutcliffe. So they go to the locker room and come out and score 28 unanswered points and win the ball game 35-17. Oxford's just really playing some good football right now.
Yeah, and I had picked against Oxford, thinking that, they played Tupelo the week before, thinking that, sometimes a team will beat you twice, right? Tupelo, big physical game. That Oxford might not be able to have it against Grenada, but Oxford proved me wrong, and they got a lot of it, whatever it is, and they are one of those favorites there in the north. Moving on down to the coast, Ocean Springs, the Greyhounds had no problems. Brandon with Biloxi, that was a 31-6 win for the Greyhounds.
Yeah, big crowd down at Hugh Pepper Field. Over 5,000 is what was reported. So big time atmosphere between these two teams. Ocean Springs had 391 yards of offense. Solomon Baggett, he's one of the guys, I know Jared talked about him last week. Their running back had 127 yards on 12 carries. And then Chalmers Berglund, the sophomore quarterback, just continues to do a great job and managed the game really well. 143 yards passing. He had a touchdown, and he did throw one pick. But the difference in this ball game, guys, was the Ocean Springs defense. They only allowed 204 yards of offense, and Jordan Ramsey, very mobile quarterback from Biloxi, was intercepted twice. So as you said, Breck, 31-6 Greyhounds. And I tell you what, we've talked about Ocean Springs, throughout the time we've been doing this podcast, but with Brandon struggling, we'll talk more about Brandon in a little bit. Ocean Springs has to be one of your top teams out of the South in 7A when you start looking at this, as we go into region play.
All right, can I just make a suggestion that we refer to him as royalty, Chalmers Berglund? I mean, it sounds like we're dealing with a former king of England with a name
really
like
does.
that.
It's a great name.
And the way he's playing ball, I mean, we have King White at Germantown. A royalty.
We got him for 2 more years. He's a sophomore, Yeah. So yeah, we can call him King or the Duke or whatever you want to do. I mean, I think that would be
Your Highness.
Send him a robe and a scepter, he won King of the Ring, like he's King Booker winning King of the Ring, right? Or Stone Cold from winning King of the Ring back in like 1996 or whenever it was.
Call him, Lord Berglund.
Yeah, Lord Berglund. I like that. But as Brandon just mentioned, the Bulldogs of Brandon are struggling a little bit as they dropped one to Starkville 22-14. Of course, Jake Wimberly was on the call for that one. Jake, what can you tell us about that ball game?
Well, the good thing for Brandon, if you're on Brandon's side, is they got Tyson Robinson back in limited capacity. He touched the ball, I think, 10 times, scored twice. He scored on a 52-yard touchdown run. The first time he touched the ball, he had a 74-yard touchdown reception. But look, Brandon's got to find more offense than Tyson Robinson, and right now they haven't been able to do it. Now, that was a really good Starkville team they played. Starkville with Kingston Johnson. We've talked about him. He won Player of the Week, I believe, week 1. That is a team that's going to press in North 7A for sure, without a doubt. I mean, you get into 2 7A and you look at Oxford and you look at Starkville in there with Madison Central and Germantown and Clinton. I mean, there's going to be a team left out of that playoff mix that really could be a playoff team. So, but Starkville, really good performance, on Friday night. Brandon, defensively, pretty darn salty. And again, the same song and dance, they got to find an offense. If Brandon doesn't find an offense, it's going to be very, very tough for them. I mean, I think they'll still probably make the playoffs, but this run that the Dogs have been on over the last few years, it may come to an end this year if they can't find it.
Let me ask you something, Jake. So with Robinson back, now you've got a threat in the backfield. Do you think it opens up the passing game now that you may see a safety or more creeping up to the box to try to contain him? Or, I mean, is it just is the talent level's not there at wide receiver? I'm kind of confused on what's going on over there.
Yeah, it's a kind of a Pandora's box. I mean, definitely what we haven't seen is an alpha receiver kind of take that charge. Brandon's always had that alpha receiver. Last year it was Jay McQueen and Quincy Phillips. Before that it was Lester Miller. Before that it was Jonathan. I mean, you can keep going back and back. They don't have that guy right now. So the question is, who is that guy? So but I do think, Brandon, to what you said, I mean, Robinson back in there, that does create a little bit of a hole in a defense. I mean, you've got to to account for him in the run game. So hopefully they'll find those guys. Hopefully somebody will grow up in that spot for them.
Yeah, and rounding out the top 10, Columbia had no problems with North Pike 36-0. Picayune and Poplarville was another big one down there in South Mississippi, but it's the Maroon Tide that get the win over the Hornets 28-21. You had Warren Central and Madison Central. The Jaguars got a win there, Brandon, and that was a good game, right? That one went like close to the end.
Yeah, and the score is kind of misleading. The final score should have been 25-24 Madison Central. The Jaguars got a 2-point conversion earlier in the game on a fluke play, basically, and it was 18-14. Warren Central scores 10 in the fourth quarter. Have the game in control, but a strong performance by the sophomore quarterback for Madison Central, Trip Smith. He led his team down the field with under 2 minutes. They score on a 25-yard wheel route. Elijah Dampier, he is a speedster, and he is a real problem in that offense for Madison Central. And at any rate, Warren Central had a shot, was driving back down the field with 29 seconds to go and got to midfield on a play, but there was a phantom holding call. There were some bad calls throughout the night on both squads, but I don't want to take away from the kids and the coaching staffs because it was a remarkable ball game, a lot of fun. But at any rate, Nash Morgan went to throw a ball out to one of our receivers, bounced off his hands, and turned into like a cheap pick six. So it was 32-24, but a remarkable game and well coached on both sides. It was a lot of fun because it was a chess match between Josh Morgan and Toby Collins, and their teams both played remarkably well. But a very good game in Madison on Friday night. And a lot of fun, too. It was a homecoming, so it was a good crowd. It was a great night of football over there at Jaguar Stadium.
And in my game on Friday night, 41-25, Kosciuszko gets the win over Choctaw County, and it scores a little misleading because it was a very close game till like there in the fourth quarter. Kosciuszko gets some unconventional scores, gets a long pick six, gets a block punt returned for a touchdown, but Kosciuszko able to stay undefeated. But hey, hats off to Choctaw County. They got a good squad there. They have a potential to repeat in 3A. A few other games just to mention that kind of caught our eye. Holmes County Central 50, Canton 13. Holmes County Central, maybe a team that could potentially be a thorn in the side of West Point. Also, you had this one, East Webster taking out Caledonia 43-23. That's 2A versus 5A. Big one there for the Wolverines. Louisville got the win over Noxubee County 25-20. A big one down in South Mississippi. West Jones with a 1-point win over Wayne County. Y'all versus us, right? 49-48. And then finally, one thing that we all wanted to give a tip of the cap to was Heidelberg. They lost. They lost to a McAllee, Tennessee team that's ranked number 25 in the country. McAllee 21, Heidelberg 18. So Coach Carter and company there going out of state and taking on some good competition, guys. I know Jake's excited about the Heidelberg Oilers.
Oh, absolutely. Love the Heidelberg Oilers, right? I mean, how can you not love the Heidelberg Oilers? And when you get them into Oxford, you're going to have that following that comes in there. And, yes, I just went ahead and put them into Oxford because I feel like Starkville, they'll be one of those teams that'll be in Starkville. But that's a big deal. I mean, you go play a team like that out of state, regardless of where you play them, Walmart parking lot, home or away. They, again, showed their value. I mean, they came up short. We don't get participation trophies, but, I mean, heck, that's a heck of a show in this past week.
And they're still young. I mean, what's Chase Craft? Is he a junior?
I think that's right.
He's a junior.
He's a junior,
he's been
right.
there so long. I mean, they're not done yet. They've got the rest of this year. I mean, Kraft's got the offers are starting to roll in. But hats off. Good showing, like Jake said.
And so that wraps up our first quarter. If you want the best of the best on your roster, it's time to call C Spire, advanced technology solutions for homes and businesses, built to make your life faster, smarter, and easier. There's more to see at cspire.com. C Spire, customer inspired. So that wraps up the first quarter. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll move into our second quarter with some fun discussion that's going to be had. You're listening to the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire.
Hey, it's me, Gus the Gopher for Atmos Energy. I dig all around the yard. Occasionally, I bump into a utility line and get a headache. But if you hit one with your shovel, backhoe, or ditch digger, you could cause a gas leak, disrupt service, or worse. So call 811 at least 3 business days before you or someone else digs in your yard to have those underground utility-owned lines marked. It's free and it's the law. You dig what I'm saying? For more on safe digging, visit atmosenergy.com/811.
From the seed, and the soil grows row after row. We take care of this land, using just the right amount of our natural resources and never more than we need.
We are only one of thousands, but we are united as one to grow the food, fiber, and shelter you need every day. Because Mississippi needs us. Mississippi needs farmers, the farm families of Mississippi.
I can't leave. We got a good one going. 27-25. Kosciuszko leads it here with 7:46 to go.
There it is.
That goes over the top of the punter. Punter goes back. He's going to try to get away. Whippets hit it. It's picked up. LaMarcus Riley gets it for a thick 6 for LaMarcus Riley.
Wow.
LaMarcus Riley with the thick 6. And the Whippets get the turnover they need.
And welcome back into the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire. Here in our second quarter, that's brought to you by Atmos Energy. Call 811 before you dig. And we might get a lot of phones. Speaking of calling, we might get a lot of calls after this as our segment that, last week we kind of changed it up a little bit and went to our second quarter being a discussion topic. Last week we looked at the top offenses, defenses in the across each classification. We debuted our RPI rankings last week, but this week we make an interesting case. Everybody's going to have a little bit of a argument, if you will, on who they think the number 2 team is in the state. Pretty much everybody agrees that West Point is the best team in the state. If you didn't think that already, you definitely probably think it now after West Point gets the 28-21 win over the Golden Wave of Tupelo. So most of us agree West Point is number 1. So we're going to go and see who we think is number 2 and who's a good number 2. Is it still Tupelo? Is it someone else? Is it even a 7A? Is it 6A? Is it 5A? What could it be? So we'll go with Jared first. This was Jared's topic. Each week, everybody kind of gets to pick a topic. This was Jared's topic, so we'll let Jared lead us off and who he thinks is the best number 2 team in the state.
Yeah, I thought it was a good time to maybe visit this and discuss this with 2 streaks falling. We talked about Tupelo, we talked about Grenada falling, and I think there's no question West Point is number 1. So here we are getting into district play. Who is number 2? I still think, for the moment, it's Tupelo. I mean, it was a close ball game with West Point, but I'll say this. If MRA goes to Catholic, and this is a heck of a program in Baton Rouge, they're going to Catholic on the road after beating Jackson Academy by double digits, I think MRA could make a very good case for the 2 spot. I'd say right now they're number 3, but let's see. I think their schedule's been very, very good. They should have won that first ball game against Ravenwood, Tennessee, who's a power. But Catholic barely lost to West Monroe, guys, and everybody in here knows how good West Monroe is over in Louisiana. So right now, I'll have West Point number 1, I'll have Tupelo number 2, and MRA at number 3, but let's see how this pans out the next few weeks.
Okay, so shots going to MAIS, potentially MRA is potentially the second best team. I did see, I'm sure you guys probably saw the meme that they did when they beat JCA. I don't know if you guys saw that they put on put out there on the sign. Some good trash talking from the folks at MRA. I will.
We didn't make it, did we, Breck? Nobody here photoshopped that or graphic designed it.
That was all MRA. That was all them. They did their thing there. But we'll continue our conversation as we're trying to determine who we think is number 2 in the state. Brandon Davis, we'll toss it over to you, and you can give us your thoughts on maybe a number 2 and a number 3, or whatever we want to do with that.
Hey, I tell you, Tupelo is still number 2 for me. Yeah, just because they lost to a very good West Point team, that doesn't mean that they should fall very far at all. Because I guarantee you, if we did a best-of-3 series with these two teams, I'm picking Tupelo over West Point. Granted, I love West Point, but I just think with J.J. Hill and I think with their defense, I think that now if they played them again, they would know what to expect, and it would be a little more organized. But I'm taking Tupelo as being 2. Because think about it. Look, before this game against West Point, they were only giving up 10.5 points a ball game. Okay. And they went up against a juggernaut that was kind of, taste of their own medicine, and they got punched in the mouth. But I still think that they're the number 2 team in the state. I think they could beat anybody else in the state. I think they could beat MRA. I really do. I like Ocean Springs at 3. I think they don't get enough respect statewide. Once you get north of Hattiesburg, people don't really talk about them. We do, but a lot of people don't talk about them in the north part of the state. So I'm going to take Tupelo at 2, and I'm going to take Ocean Springs at 3.
Okay, so Tupelo 2, Ocean Springs 3. That's what Brandon Davis thinks. Let's bring in the best hair in the business, Jake Wimberly. He went on a road tour this summer, and he talked to more coaches than all of us have. So Jake's got a unique perspective on all of these teams. So Jake, looking at your crystal ball, who are you putting up there in the number 2, number 3 spot?
Yeah, it'd be Tupelo. Let's not forget this. Tupelo's doing this without a true quarterback. I mean, they really are. They lost their quarterback, to some unforeseen circumstances. They've had to make a makeshift quarterback play with J.J. Hill. Look, he's done a phenomenal job, and they're hoping to get that guy back, in the fold here before the end of region play. And if they do, you better watch out, because the kid can absolutely play. Now, there's a learning curve there, but you're talking about an 18-game winning streak. They've won now 18 of their last 19. They have beaten some really good teams here early, so it's still Tupelo for me. 3, I'm with Davis. I think it's Ocean Springs. I mean, you look at what they've done and the teams that they have beaten. Not taking anything away from MRA. I think MRA definitely has a claim here. What Herbert Davis has done with that program, it continues just to kind of defy odds, just year in and year out, and what they just did to Jackson Academy. So keep Tupelo at 2 for me. Ocean Springs at 3, and hey, we'll throw MRA back there at 4.
Yeah, I had Ocean Springs 4. And I think they're good. I think they're going to rise. I definitely do. They're playing really good football. Here's the deal. I got to get on to Davis. You're going to make everybody in West Point hate us for life. You just said that you said Tupelo is going to beat them 2 out of 3 series.
Hey, it's motivation, son.
Well, it's working. Whatever we've done on the Varsity Voices podcast has worked, going back to our all-time rankings, because West Point has not missed a beat since that came out. But I'll say this. I agree with that possibly if Tupelo had a traditional quarterback, or at least their quarterback, that they had to start the year, like Jake said. But right now, I think if they played a 3-game series, I'm going West Point.
Let me ask you this, and I'm going to throw a curveball at you. Okay, Jake, and your shots. Let's say the kid comes back, and we know that the quarterback was supposed to be a generational talent when he was at Nettleton. I believe in the 8th grade we heard about him, and he lit it up at Nettleton. But is Tupelo to the point now, if he comes back with maybe a couple of games later in the season, do you play him to change up the dynamic that you have and the chemistry that you have on your offense? I know that you hadn't had a traditional quarterback, but you've been able to do that with the two backs with Hill and Bobo. Do you insert him back into that to potentially mess up the chemistry? I mean, that's an interesting question. If I'm on that staff up at Tupelo, how do you handle that?
Yeah, that's not something that if I was Ty Harden on that staff, I wouldn't want to handle it either. But when you look at, I think you have to start bringing him back in phases. I think you have to, I hate the term packages, but you've got to create a package for him. And I think because when you put him back in there, what that does is that adds a different dynamic. One, you can throw it around a little bit better. Not that J.J. Hill's not doing a great job with it, but you can throw it around a little bit better. And then also, that allows you to really move J.J. Hill back into his normal spot. I think that they will slow walk him back in, but you bring up a great question, about the chemistry.
No, I agree with everything Jake's saying. I really do. And I think it's one of those, let's say Tupelo gets the number 1 seed. A lot of people are saying that in District 1, right? Kind of a foregone conclusion. Well, at the end of the day, there's probably going to be a couple blowouts in round 1, maybe round 2. Well, then you can kind of insert quarterback, whomever, to try to get that, that different, spark or identity that they're trying to find to make a deep playoff run. So it's, I think they'll have a couple of weeks where they can probably, smooth him into there, kind of gradually put him into the system. You're going to have to throw the football at some point to win a championship. Yeah. They had to do it last year. Did they have to do it a lot? No. But, I mean, they were tremendous throwing the football when they had to make a play last year, and that's something they don't have this year so far.
So it seems most people are still taking Tupelo at number 2, and the consensus of Ocean Springs maybe at number 3, with shots saying MRA being number 3 as well. And just to be a little different, I'll get Tupelo at 2, but I'm going to do you one. I say Columbia up at number 3. I like what Coach Boulderback's doing back there in Columbia, and so I expect them to definitely be there towards the end of November, and maybe potentially get back to a state championship appearance for Columbia. Of course, 4A South is kind of loaded with Macomb and Poplarville and Columbia, so they got, not like it's an easy road by any means. Got Forest, who's having a pretty good year as well. Forest had Poplarville on the ropes last year before they, Poplarville ended up coming back. So Columbia, I think, is going to be battle tested and be there by the end of it all. But that's our look at potentially who number 2 or number 3 is. If you have an opinion on number 2 or number 3, be sure to drop it in the comments on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, wherever we can keep this conversation rolling. And hey, with C Spire, you've got all the technology you need for connected living: fiber, fast home internet, ultra secure Wi-Fi, and nationwide 5G wireless you can count on. There's more to see at cspire.com. Well, hey, time to take a look at who was throwing it and running it the best this week from week 5, as we'll take a look at our players of the week presented by Farm Families of Mississippi. As always, we'll take a look at some of the guys that maybe didn't quite make it to the top, but that definitely deserve a mention. People like Tylen Hutchins, the receiver from Madison Central, nothing like 9 catches for 151 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also, Jared got to see King White over at Germantown, passing it 16 out of 19 for 285 yards, 4 touchdowns, and he had a rushing touchdown. It was just in 2 quarters, because he didn't have to play in the second half. So that's an impressive performance. Look at quarterback Andre Brown from McAdams. The McAdams Bulldogs are still undefeated. He went 8 out of 16 passing for 241 yards, 3 touchdowns. He ran the ball 10 times for 112 yards. And how about this? He's the second string quarterback. He's not even first string quarterback there. So congratulations to Andrew Brown. And here in Kosciuszko, Martavion Miller, he had 2 interceptions. 1 pick six was 65 yards, and the other interception, he returned 74 yards, but he needed to return it 78 yards, and he would have had 2 pick sixes. He got tackled at the 4. He also had 5 tackles and 3 pass breakups. So good defensive performance by Martavion Miller. But I think we all agreed that this is a guy that's been on our radar for a lot. He's been mentioned a few times, and your Farm Families of Mississippi player of the week is running back Christian Alexander from Rosa Fort High School, 210 yards and 4 touchdowns. So congratulations to Christian Alexander of Rose LaForte High School over in Tunica. He is going to get a Farm Families of Mississippi Player of the Week shirt, and hopefully we'll be able to connect with him and maybe speak with him some this week. But that shirt is brought to you by College Apparel, College Corner Store, and you can find them at locations in Oxford, Flowood, and in Ridgeland. And guys, once again, another great week of performances across Mississippi.
This state is loaded with talent, top to bottom, every classification. You talk about a young man out of Tunica, doing what he did. Obviously, Alexander is a kid that we've had on our radar, like you said, Breck, from the start. But each week in every corner of this state, we're surprised by what these kids are able to do. And it's kudos to them for their accomplishments.
I got up on Sunday morning watching the game over in Dublin, right? First person I heard was Kenneth Gainwell, running back for the Steelers from Yazoo City. And who else plays for the Steelers? DK Metcalf, and he's from Oxford, right? So you just watch any NFL game throughout the week, and there's probably somebody with some Mississippi ties. Well, Jackson Dart went to Ole Miss, obviously, and maybe not from here originally, but still Mississippi ties. Got to start for the Giants this past Sunday, and so as you said, Mississippi talent is everywhere. Well, that is a wrap here on our second quarter. It's going to be halftime, so we're going to stretch our legs, get some food, and then get back for the second half in the third quarter. We'll have our weekly interview. Our guests will stop by, and we'll chat with them and get a preview of what's going on throughout the state, and then come back for the fourth quarter where we'll preview this upcoming week, and we'll make our picks. You're listening to the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire.
Elegance is in the details. Pine Straw America's premium longleaf pine straw subscription ensures your landscape stays pristine season after season. Precision edging, flawless installation, because your home deserves nothing less. Pine Straw America.
Delicious, savory barbecue doesn't happen by accident, and great wings don't happen by accident either. Whether you're heating up the smoker or firing up the grill, the award-winning Crafted in Mississippi finishing sauces and marinades of the Oxford Falls makes every meal a masterpiece and every bite unforgettable. The Oxford Falls helps make every mouth-watering meal one to remember. Shop now at theoxfordfalls.com and get free shipping on orders over $100.
Every job starts with the right equipment. At Empower Rental Group, we've got what it takes to get you moving fast. Empower Rental Group has it all to get the job, large or small, done right. From pickup to delivery, we're your trusted local rental partner. Rent online at renterg.com. That's renterg.com. Or come by and talk to our friendly team today. Empower Rental Group, built for the job.
A give to Jordan Hathorn, who was in at the fullback position, and he is loose. 35-30, 25-20, 15-10, 5 touchdown. Jordan Hathorn, a 70-yard strike for Mr. Jordan Hathorn. What a big play.
And welcome back into the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire. We just had our halftime break, our intermission. The band performed or something along those lines. And it's time for our third quarter. That's brought to you by Empower Rental Group, or ERG. You deserve a better rental experience. You can visit them at renterg.com. And as we've kind of started recently, we like to give our third quarter, bring in a guest, a consultant, whatever correspondent, expert, whatever it might be, whatever term we want to use. Last week we had Brad Logan, and this week we have Chris Brooks from Mississippi Gridiron. Chris, thanks for being on the podcast.
Yeah, anytime. I appreciate the expert. I mean, you call me whatever you want. I'm going to have a difficult time here, though, Breck, because I'm looking up at my camera lens up there, and then I'm looking down at your face on my screen. So people see my eyes popping up and down.
It's okay.
It's hard not to talk to you.
I wouldn't want to look at my face either. So you can look at the screen. That's why I work radio and I don't work TV. Yeah. So people they can listen to the voice. They don't have to look at the face. So we appreciate you for coming on.
I feel your pain, buddy.
As we're here, it's a halfway point of the season, the high school football season. Yeah. week 5, week 6, whatever you want to call it. If you consider week 0, week 5, week 6, whatever, it's the midway point of the season. And on the podcast, we've been reviewing each and every week. We're gearing up for a lot of schools starting with division play this week, but we wanted to get you on. Of course, you put out the magazine, Mississippi Gridiron Magazine, each and every year. So, and you follow along just like most of us do. What have been some surprises for you? Maybe it's a player that's come out of nowhere, or maybe it's a team that's come out of nowhere, or maybe it's a team that was supposed to do something and maybe they haven't lived up to expectations. But throughout the state, what are some surprises that you've noted throughout the season so far?
Well, a couple. I could start with a player, Kingston Johnson, what he's doing at Starkville. And the reason I bring him up is, we put out the magazine, and the funny thing is, I'll joke with people, I know more about high school football like the week after it comes out.
Of course.
Because as soon as you put it out, then everybody has somebody to throw in there. Okay?
Of course.
So you hit me up a week after it's published, and I'm going to know what's going on. But Kingston Johnson, somebody that I was told was going to be the best quarterback in the state, or had a great chance to do it. And of course, this is a guy first years, as a junior starter, and then right out of the gate against Oak Grove did what he did. So I have followed that just because I was anxious to see what he could do. And then from a team standpoint, you shouldn't be surprised what West Point does ever. But they moved into our number 1 ranking for the first time this year. 9 straight championships. I think they did 9 straight championship game appearances, I believe. It's 9 or 10.
Sounds
I think
right.
This is going for 10. But I didn't know they would be this good. But to go to Tupelo last week and to win that game the way they did, that shouldn't be surprising, but that's the team to beat right now.
Yeah, I would agree. And I took West Point in the pick'em when we were doing the pick'em last
Smart
week.
man.
Caleb Hamill and I think we were the only two that took West Point. You just don't bet against the green wave. But
ever.
Yeah, as you said, you learn not to be surprised by what they do. But on the inverse of that, a team that I think that maybe had some high expectations and hasn't really lived up to it would be Hattiesburg. Right? Because, they played for the championship last year. Of course, they've been dealing with the injury bug there, but I think a lot of people thought that this Hattiesburg team might, have a chance to get back. Now, obviously, you get to division play, things can happen, but I'm not sure Hattiesburg is having the season that they thought that they might have.
Well, they had so much turnover in the offseason. Of course, Tony Vance, retires and is watching his son play, which also big loss. Deuce Vance, no longer the quarterback there. He's over at, I believe he's at South Alabama. And they had a huge senior class. So with all the turnover there, and then you mentioned the injury bug, with Tristan Key's not able to go. That's one of the best wide receivers in the country. So I can't say I'm shocked. Maybe a little how they've lost some of those games, but you mentioned it already. We're getting into region play here, so there's plenty of time to do something this year. And then, if you threw another team out locally around here in the metro, which I'm based out of Brandon area, Northwest Rankin is right around the corner from me. Brandon hasn't had the year that they wanted to date. Again, some turnover there with a new coaching staff, Lance Pogue taking over. But it's still early in the year. I know that's a talented team. They're one of these teams that plays a killer schedule. And they're going to do that every year. So those teams I've learned especially not to write off. The teams that really load the schedule up front to prepare for region. Usually I'll wash that away, and then you get into region play, and you'll know what you have.
Yeah, I would agree. Another one here locally that I've bragged on a little bit throughout the podcast is McAdams. The Bulldogs still undefeated. Mm-hmm. They got a new coach in, and they got the big one this week, the Attala County Super Bowl. Ethel also having a good season at 4-1 with the new coach Junior Graham. So that's some surprises there. We're going to pick those games later in the podcast. That's going to be one of our games to pick this week, so that's exciting. But let's look at some contenders. We'll just go from the top down halfway through. Now, obviously, you probably have who we think the usual suspects, but we'll also get your opinions on maybe somebody that can sneak in and maybe bring home a gold ball. We'll start with 7A. Obviously, you're thinking about Tupelo in the north and Ocean Springs in the south, and then everybody else.
Yeah, and I'll keep these short so we can roll through some of these classes. Tupelo's still the team to beat. Watch and see what happens with Braylon Williams, the quarterback that hasn't played yet this year. He will play towards the end of the year. And look, that's a Division I defensive back that's committed to Ole Miss. That put up big numbers at Nettleton as a freshman, a sophomore, missed most of last year, played at the very end. But when they get him back, that'll be a different team. You mentioned Ocean Springs in the South. They're undefeated. They have a big game this weekend with Gulfport. But Ocean Springs has a chance to do something. The coast teams have struggled. It's been since Katrina. I guess you go back that far. But they have a shot this year. And then keep an eye on Oak Grove. They're starting to play really well here the last 2-3 weeks.
Right. It is another one of those teams that maybe had a little bit of a slow start, but has come on lately. We'll jump back over into the 6A ranks. Grenada, of course, the defending champs. You got to think that they're going to be, there in the mix. But who else can we look at in 6A?
Picayune, almost like a West Point type thing to where you just don't bet against them. They're going to run the football. They're going to, mash you up front with the offensive line. And that's every year. But I would watch them. Warren Central has some big wins this year. So, they're one of those teams that schedules difficult early in the year. They're good every year, like playoffs every year. They just haven't quite had the talent to go deep in the playoffs. That's a team, especially this year, because I think it's a little more open than typical. I don't think there's just a dominant team in 6A. Warren Central could do something.
Okay, the Vikings. Brandon Davis, our own Brandon Davis, be happy to hear that. And 5A, is there anybody that can dethrone West Point off of the pedestal there? Anybody in the North that has an opportunity to, maybe make sure they don't keep that streak alive of going to the championship? And if they get to the championship, is there anybody in the South that could beat West Point?
I'd be lying here if I said anything different because I just fired off a message to a friend of mine up there and just said, nobody's beating y'all. Okay, so if I back off of that now, he's going to know I'm a hypocrite. I can't see anybody beating them. That's a deep team. And if you've ever, tell you what, people see them on Friday nights. Okay. If you've ever had a chance to see them practice and just kind of the culture that they have there, like that's a different program. And I don't even know what you call that thing they do. The third quarter, everybody, the offensive linemen are walking to the line of scrimmage, doing the little, when you see that, you got problems. But if anybody is going to challenge them, I would have said Brookhaven 2 weeks ago. If you remember, they beat Madison Central, and then now back-to-back losses to Macomb and Northwest Rankin. And so I'm kind of waiting to see what happens there. But Brookhaven has a ton of talent.
Okay, so that's 5A. It's all West Point there. Now, let's talk about 4A. There's a lot of teams in 4A. Of course, you have Louisville and Poplarville played for it last year. You figure those two teams are going to be in the mix there. But down south, there's a few more good squads, and up north, there's a few more good squads.
Mm-hmm. Columbia is the team to beat. That I saw them early in the year. They played at Hartfield, and Hartfield was healthy. Hartfield hasn't had the year they thought they'd have, but early in the year they were healthy. They were missing some guys right now. Columbia is legit. They already beat Petal, which Petal is a team in 7A that's significantly better, I think, from last year, could do something still late this year. So that's the team to beat. I mean, Louisville every year. We'll see what they do once we get into region play. And then another team in the South, Poplarville is talented. Of course, what Ty Keys has done at running back. They have a big defensive tackle, too. I can't remember the kid's name. Sam, I think it's Lejeune. Just a freak athlete that's a junior. He'll be a huge recruit next year. Look, then Kosciuszko, man. I mean, that's an undefeated team that has a big-time quarterback with Caden Wade. That's a team that has a shot to do something.
Yeah, and we'll see those two square off next week, Kosciuszko and Louisville. Louisville's got Yazoo City this week. Kosciuszko's got Gentry. But next week, that's the big one, as those two powerhouse teams are going to square off. I like Clarksdale in the north as well. Clarksdale's been playing some good ball. Senatobia also up north 4A. Let's drop down to 3A. I just saw the defending champs in 3A this past week. Choctaw County, a good squad at their quarterback and their running back. Of course, you got Noxubee County, who made it, 3 years in a row with Camario Taylor, weren't able to bring home any gold balls. But what's it look like in that range?
Yeah, Noxubee, I might be 4. It's 3 or 4. I know it's a lot.
It's a few, right?
They haven't been able to finish. I think it's 4. I could be wrong. But, they're right there. And they're same thing this year. They'll be right there. You already mentioned Choctaw County. Their quarterback, KJ Corks, had a really good year. People were wondering about them with losing a big-time wide receiver and a pretty big senior class. But they're right back in it. Raleigh is playing really good football. And they've played a solid schedule early. I would watch out for them second half. I think Raleigh's going to do something.
Yeah, Jared Schatz and I in the podcast, we were really high on Raleigh in our preseason, sort of a preview there. And in 2A, of course, we know about Coach Carter and the swagger that the Heidelberg Oilers have.
Yeah.
Much like West Point, is there anyone that can dethrone Heidelberg in 2A?
I'm looking to make sure I didn't miss anybody, Brett, but I can't see it. There's so much talent there. And then not just talent, high school football, especially as you move down classes. Okay. A lot of times, especially you get deep in playoffs, it's just whoever has the best kid. And they've got Chase Craft, quarterback. As long as that kid's back there running around, all things being relatively equal, they're going to be hard for anybody to beat. If you're looking for somebody, I would probably circle East Webster. Because I know that roster is good and they have some playmakers, but it's going to be hard to beat Heidelberg.
East Webster just whooped up on 5A Caledonia this past week.
They did.
They beat a good Nanawaya squad who we might talk about here as we get down to 1A. But, yeah, Heidelberg seems to be the cream of the crop there in 2A. But, yeah, let's get down to 1A, that Ironman football that we like to talk about. Baldwin is the defending champ. They got a big one this week. But who else is going to be in the mix there in 1A?
Well, love 1A. I'm from small town Mississippi, and just something about, I tell you what, the funny thing is you go to these games, and you've probably been to some of these towns, especially when I early started doing the magazine, which this is 16 years now. I didn't know where all the fields were. You can ride into town, and you can tell because you can see the lights on, but literally the rest of the town is dark.
Empty.
I mean, every light's off. And you can literally just follow it and figure out where you're going. Calhoun City is going to be really difficult to beat. That's a team that's moving down from 2A to 1A. They would have challenged in 2A and had a shot at Heidelberg. It wouldn't have been a favorite, but but they would have been in the mix. Moving down to 1A, they have a really good shot to do it.
Yeah, they already have a win this year against Winona. They had a very close game, lost by 3 points, I think, to a Senatobia squad that's really, really good. So, yeah, Calhoun City, I think it was a consensus on the podcast from the panel that they would probably be the favorite in 1A. Well, before we sign off here, one question is, which classification you think is the deepest? Like how many? Obviously, we talked about West Point. It's West Point's in 5A. It's Heidelberg's in 2A. But the rest of them, which classification could you say, well, I could see this team or maybe this team, maybe had this team or this team or this team that could win it. So what do you think is the deepest one?
The deepest is probably 7. And the only reason I wouldn't just say that as a matter of fact is just because Tupelo is so good. And we'll see what happens when their quarterback comes back. The quarterback's really talented. Okay, so right now they're beating people. And, of course, they lost to West Point. But if you've seen them play, they have J.J. Hill at quarterback. Okay, and they're running this makeshift offense with him at quarterback, and he's handing off to Kylan Bobo. Both of those kids are SEC running backs. So then you're going to put an SEC athlete at quarterback with all of the other guys they have. I mean, they're loaded on defense. They're big up front. So I'm just removing them from the mix for a second. If you get past them, we talked about Ocean Springs. Starkville is going to get better. They have a lot of new starters, but at the end of the year, that's going to be a good team. Mentioned Oak Grove. I think Brandon's going to be better as we get towards the end. Horn Lake's had a good year. West Harrison's undefeated. That's a team that's 5-0 with a big time running back with Jordan Stapleton. Madison Central's 3-2. And we look at our rankings now and they're sitting there at 9. That's a team that could do something. Oxford could do something. Drew Dean's one of the top quarterbacks in the state. Statistically, he's a junior that's had a good year. So after Tupelo, I think it's wide open, but we'll see what Tupelo is when their quarterback gets back.
Yeah, I would agree. Tupelo, Ocean Springs, and we talked about Oxford previously in the podcast today, and so lots of good teams there in 7A. I like 4A. It's a classification I like there with you mentioned Columbia, Poplarville in the south, Macomb also who beat Brookhaven there in the south, and in the north you got Louisville.
That's right.
We talked to Kosciuszko, Senatobia, Clarksdale, Rosafort. We're talking to Christian Alexander. This week is our player of the week. The Rosafort Lions, they're doing some good things there up in North Mississippi. So 4A, I like as a pretty deep classification as well. Well, Chris,
Christian can play.
Yeah, we appreciate you for making time for us here on the Varsity Voices podcast. Coming in as our, I would say correspondent, but if you say consultant, you get to charge more, right?
Yeah, that's true. We'll just go with correspondent. That's
correspondent.
fine.
All right. Yeah. But Chris Brooks, you can visit him at MS Mississippi Gridiron. Check out the magazine, Capital Sports MS, and they do great things for the high school sports each and every week. Well, Chris, appreciate you being on the podcast.
Yep. Anytime, man. You guys need something, just let me know.
All right. We're going to step aside for a break. When we come back, we'll get to our fourth quarter here on the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire.
When your AC goes out, your sink leaks, or your breakers are tripping, you need help fast from someone you can trust. That's why we work hard to have the fastest service times and the most knowledgeable technicians in Central Mississippi. Our promise to you, at your door in under 24. So don't wait days for others to show up. Call Environment Masters for hassle-free plumbing, electrical, and AC. At your door in under 24, because it's not cool to make you wait.
Never settle when building or remodeling your home. You may think you can't afford brick, but you can. For less than $1 a day, you can own a full brick home. The money you save on painting, heating, and cooling costs, along with lower insurance, will put money back in your pocket. Go to CherokeeBrick.com to see how affordable brick really is. Spend less, save more on the look you want. Cherokee Brick. Life's just better with brick.
Genuine Mississippi, grown and raised and crafted, made. Genuine Mississippi.
And welcome back into the fourth quarter of the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire. We want to remind you that fourth quarter's segments are built by Cherokee Brick, America's most trusted brick supplier. And before we get to anything else, talking games or anything at all, the people want to know, Brandon, what is on the whiteboard this week there in your Environment Masters studio at Casa de Davis?
Well, you boys know that I love food, and we're going to stick with food again this week. Before we get too far down the rope, I want to just, what's the word I'm looking for? Wimberly made it out like I liked end shots, and actually you two, all of you jackals, made it out that I like mint chocolate chip ice cream. You know how many people this week asked me did I really like that? I said, I do not like toothpaste ice cream. That was them. Any rate, that's the, any rate, that we'll settle this later. But yeah, it's on.
Hey, I had your muscadine ripple in Starkville this past weekend. I'll have to say, friend, it was really good.
Yeah, you liked it, didn't you, buddy? Yeah, boy.
I did.
Good.
I did,
So
but
good.
everybody also wants you to say the word pistachio, Davis.
No, I'm not doing that. No.
You can say it. You don't have to spell it. All right.
I'm not saying any. Y'all leave me alone. Look, this is not what we're here for. We're here to talk about what's on the board this week, which, by the way, is pistachio, right? Is that was that the word? At any rate.
Close enough.
We're talking about tailgating foods this week. We could have talked about best concession stand. We've already done that. We always know Germantown Maverick Burger is probably the best. Oh, by the way, though, if you're looking for concession stand food, Ethel, was it the fried honey bun, Breck? Was that what deep fried honey
Oreo
bun?
and deep fried honey bun. There, Ethel Tigers right there.
Yeah, Junior Graham and the boys got it going on. But this week we're looking at best tailgate food. You know, we're getting into the heart of football. It's starting to cool off. You can enjoy it. We're in October now. So just want to put a list up there on the board of what I consider to be some of the best tailgating food. Burgers, ribs, can't go wrong with sausage dogs. Look at the sweets. You got to have like brownies, Mississippi mud brownies, all that type of fine stuff. So that's the list this week. Can't go wrong with food. Just hope that whatever you're doing, that you're enjoying it. Like I said, the weather's starting to cool off. Some great tailgating that you see in high school venues now. We were at Madison Central Friday night, and there was some great tailgating. Of course, Northwest Rankin does tailgating. Jake's bunch over at Brandon does tailgating. I know they're trying that at Germantown. So kudos to them, trying to create more of a college atmosphere. But at any rate, that's my list. And, just get out and enjoy and have a good time. But What do you guys not like about my board? Because I know you got some smart aleck comment to make.
Well, what's on the list? I can't really read it.
I'm like you, man. You see me lately. I like food, and you can tell I don't turn much down, right? So you can tell.
Yeah, man. I don't miss meals. We've got burgers and ribs, loaded rotel. When I say loaded rotel, I mean I got to have like sausage, hamburger meat, the real stuff, sausage dogs, Mississippi mud brownies, and honorable mention. I used to do a really good pork loin back in college. I had always people coming to my tailgate. So pork loin, and then anything wrapped in bacon. If it's got bacon, it's good, right?
Pork loin, and then get your toothpaste ice cream at the Davis tent.
Ugh.
No, I'm a rib guy. Give me some ribs, especially the ones that, people will put the Dr. Pepper with them, wrap them up.
Yeah.
To fall off the bone. I mean, man, I'm a sucker for those, brother. Sucker.
I am a dip person. Give me all the dips. Give me the rotel with the sausage in it. Give me the buffalo chicken dip. Give me the spinach dip, right? Any kind of dip. Chips and dip, right? That's my go-to for tailgate. But I'm going to give you something. We have those, Mississippi State, where I went to school. We're not always great. So sometimes you get those 11 o'clock kickoffs, right? So you're at the tailgate at like 9 o'clock in the morning. And if you're going to have breakfast at the tailgate, pigs in a blanket. That's it right there.
I mean, that's two food groups right there you got to have, right?
Yep.
Pigs
in a blanket.
Yeah. So.
I'll tell you this. So when I got back from the ball game today, man, it was a tough day at the Schatz household. My freezer went out.
Oh.
So all of the stuff had warmed up over the 2 day. Oh, no, it was done. It was done. It smelled like somebody or someone or something had died when I opened the garage. So then, as soon as I got home, it was grab the black trash bags rather, and throw all the stuff out. Ribs. We had steaks. It's all gone. So it's great fish bait, though. Wonderful.
Yeah. At least you can catch some fish with it or something.
I was just like, it should have been burning money is the way that should have gone.
Josh can fish like right out his back door too. He just like walk right onto the thing and fish right there in the little lake right behind the house. But
these rack of ribs, man, I should have caught a shark. I mean, I could have just taken the whole rack of ribs and it's like they do on the National Geographic with the great whites. Just throw it out there, and here comes like the biggest thing you've ever seen out of the water. Yeah, none of that happened.
Like feeding the T-Rex in Jurassic Park is just a goat out there.
Yeah.
It's just got it.
See, that would have been the silver lining, right? Like all your food spoils, all the ribs, all the meat, and then if you just go outside and catch a massive fish, it makes up for it. But there's none that big out there now.
Not too bad. Well, in my Environment Master studio this week, I'm showing love to the Italic County teams. We got Kosciuszko right here, undefeated 5-0. Ethel Tigers, they are 4-1, and the McAdams Bulldogs don't have their helmet yet, but we're getting one. They are 4-0. So collectively, what's that? 13-1 for the Italic County teams. So we're giving them some love here on the Environment Master Studio. Hassle-free plumbing, electrical, and AC. Visit them at environmentmasters.com. Well, we'll get back into the football conversation as we got some great games coming up this week. Is it already week 6 of the high school football season? I can't believe it's already that close, but kicking things off, we're going to look at a big one there in the metro area. It is Brandon and Northwest Rankin. So Jake Grimbley's going to be on the call for that one. Jake, what's your preview for this game?
Yeah, it's a rivalry of sorts between these two. We always joke North Brandon, which is Northwest Rankin, versus traditional Brandon, but this is a big ball game for both teams. You talk about trying to get out on the right side of things in region play, and both of these teams need this. You look at Brandon. I mean, again, we talked about the offensive struggles that they've had. Tyson Robinson will be back. I like Brandon in this matchup by just a little bit, just because of the defensive side of the ball. They're playing really good defensively. If they can find that offense, I like Brandon to win this football game against Northwest Rankin this week. But it should be a really, really close one.
Yeah, and then another one going on in the metro area, but it's only one metro team, and that is Oxford's going to be going down to take on Madison Central. Jared, I know you've done some homework on both of those teams.
Yeah, I mean, look, Madison Central, they feel like their offense is starting to get better. I know Brandon saw that last week. Defensively, they're good defensively. They really are. I mean, they've got a nose guard who is Kevon Jacobs. He is a beast in the middle of that Jaguar defensive line, and they've really had to lean on that defense as the offense grows. And they, as they get into district play, they think that offense is starting to grow. But I tell you, man, they got their hands full this week with this Oxford team. Oxford, they almost beat the defending 7A champs in Tupelo last week, but they did take out the defending 6A champs in Grenada this week. I mean, think about that. If they would have won that ball game, they would have ended both streaks because they did it against, obviously, Grenada this week, but they were very close to doing it against Tupelo last week. But that's the kind of schedule they have played, and now they're about to go into one of the meanest districts in the state of Mississippi. And this is an offense right now, guys. They're averaging 36 points a ball game under Coach Chris Cutcliffe. And look at the total yards, 401 total yards. Madison Central's offense, only 245. So they're really going to lean on that defense to keep them in this ball game. And I tell you what, with Drew Dean running that offense, I think it's going to be a very tough ball game for Madison Central.
Yeah, that's definitely one to keep an eye on there in Madison County. And then we're going to go way up to the north part of the state in DeSoto County. And there's two of their big teams there. How many teams are in DeSoto County? It's like 75 of them,
Several.
right? Well, anyway, two of them. At one point, they had their own division, right? It was all like 6A Division I was all DeSoto County teams at one point. But this week, it's Hernando and Horn Lake right there next to each other, Brandon. And this is a big game.
Yeah, to me, these are two surprise teams in the state. They're both 4-1, and they play each other. I believe this is going to be their region opener this week. And Hernando has struggled against Horn Lake. They're 17-31-2 all time against the Eagles. And Horn Lake has a really good running back. I hadn't heard a lot of this kid. His name is Floyd Senegal. Last week against South Panola, he had 2 touchdowns at 107 yards on 17 carries. Really helped Horn Lake secure the win over the Tigers of South Panola. I'm going to go, if I had to pick someone, I like Horn Lake just because the strength of schedule they've played has been a little more difficult than what we've seen out of Hernando. And Hernando's coming off a tough loss. Last week they went over to Lafayette and took one on the chin. So that should be a good game. Like I said, these are two surprise teams that's in that region. So it'd be anxious to see how it plays out.
And we'll stay down there on the, or we should say we're going to go opposite end of the state. We were in DeSoto County. We're going to flip back and go down to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And what I think is maybe the mascot matchup of the week. You got the Gulfport Admirals taking on the Ocean Springs Greyhounds. And that's a big one. Jake, you and Brandon were both very high on Ocean Springs as possibly number 2 or number 3 best team in the state. But Ocean Springs got another hands full with Gulfport.
No, they will. Look, Blake Pinnock's done a great job at Gulfport. They've played a pretty daunting schedule. You would think at least early one of these two teams. I know there's some others in that region that will lay claim to having an opportunity here, and we'll see that down the road. But you look at Ocean Springs, they've kind of built for this moment. You felt like over the last several years, they played in 2 of the last 3 South State championships, both against Brandon, lost both of them over the last couple of years. They've been knocking right there on the door. So, I mean, this is a team that feels like, hey, we've got to take that next step. That next step is continuing to try to dominate on the coast. And, for Ocean Springs, I like Ocean Springs to win this ball game. But again, Blake Pinnock, they're doing some big things there in Gulfport. A lot of things off the field with a new stadium and some things of that nature. I mean, they're building that program as well. It should be a good one.
And Jake and Brandon said that, Ocean Springs was number 3, but maybe Tupelo number 2. Jared was still high on Tupelo as number 2 team in the state. And they are going to be taking on Hartfield this week. So a little MHSAA matchup, Jared.
Yeah, I think everybody would have loved to have seen this ball game a year ago.
Yeah.
Hartfield really struggling right now. The 2-time defending MAIS state champs against the defending 7A champs in Tupelo. Not a good time to be catching the golden wave after that tough loss to West Point. And you got a Hartfield team, man. They're really trying to figure things out. It has just not gone their way at 1-4. And Hartfield, it's not going well on offense, 24 points a ball game, but defensively giving up 33 points a ball game. Very talented football team. They'll be the first to tell you that this is kind of a surprise for them. I mean, you talk about Braylon Womack and the senior. He's such a stud, the safety/wide receiver. He is averaging 104 yards through the air catching the football, but just not clicking right now. And having to go to Tupelo, man, that's going to be a tough and very tall task. Again, this ball game a year ago would have been, they did it in basketball for years, the overall basketball championships, the MAIS. I would have loved to have seen an overall last year between Hartfield and Tupelo, but this year I like Tupelo big in this ball game.
Yeah, Golden Wave not going to be happy about taking that loss to West Point. We're going to jump down a little bit in classification and, some of our favorite, the smaller schools. Brandon, you got Water Valley and Bruce. Of course, Brad Logan, that's a Bruce guy. He was our guest last week. He helped us break down Tupelo. We appreciate Brad Logan for helping us there. But Water Valley and Bruce going to be matching up this week, Brandon.
Yeah, that's got to be a rivalry of some sort. I mean, they're right there in each other's backyard, I believe. And this is going to be a fun ball game. Water Valley's 4-1 on the season. Their only losses to Eupora. That's nothing to hang your head about. And then Bruce 5-0 on the season. Offense giving 35 points a ball game. Josh Long, one of the kids that we highlighted in our preseason all-state list, the quarterback at Bruce. He's thrown for 953 yards and 12 touchdowns so far this season, and one of his favorite receivers is sophomore, a kid we're going to be seeing a lot of throughout the next few years, named Jermaine Jackson. And so far in the season, 514 yards to 6 touchdowns for the sophomore. So Josh Long, a kid that's coming along, he's a good-looking prospect, Brick, and I mean, this is going to be an exciting game up there in North Mississippi.
Yeah, and I'm looking at some games here in my local neck of the woods in the 4A ranks, Choctaw Central and League Central. Choctaw Central having a great year, and all my folks in that portion of the state saying this is their year if they're going to make some noise. And so Choctaw Central and League Central, they're about as close as Kosciuszko and League Central are. So these are family members playing family members in that one. That one's going to be a good one. And then you got Mendenhall and Forest, and we talked about Forest, how they gave Poplarville fits last year in the playoffs. And of course, we know Mendenhall, maybe not what they were a few years ago, but still a very good ball club. And then you're looking at Greenwood and Holmes County Central. Greenwood, always talented. Greenwood took Kosciuszko to overtime last year and expecting to have another good year this year. And Holmes County Central, we still say, are they for real? They had a good game against Louisville, and they're right there with West Point. So those are some games I'm interested in here in my neck of the woods. And then looking over, Brandon, I know one more MAIS one that you wanted to look at, sort of in the smaller ranks as well. That's Lee and Regents.
Right. I mean, Lee, we hadn't talked much about either of these schools. Lee, 4-2 on the season. They have, in my opinion, one of the best named kids in the entire state. His name is Desi Monix, running back. If you hadn't looked up this kid, guys, y'all need to look him up. He has 1,065 yards on the ground and 22 touchdowns in 6 games. Desi Monix. And then a kid that you pointed out, Breck, a few weeks ago from Regents School, one of the newer schools, Zane Hill at quarterback, thrown for 1,404 yards and 20 touchdowns so far. Regents is 2-3 on the year, but Zane Hill is another good prospect in the MAIS ranks. So you got 2 heavyweights, one on the ground and one throwing it through the air, that's going to be going against each other this week when Lee and Regents meet up.
Yeah, didn't we say that was Johnny Hill's grandson, right? Longtime coach there at Oxford. Yeah,
well, that's right.
So, so that'll be a big one there.
Oxford and Tupelo.
Yeah. So, really good pedigree right there with him. But great call on picking that one, Brandon, as I definitely think that is a premier matchup that's flying under the radar. And one more we want to get to, we can't leave out Caleb Hamill, our producer, wants to talk a little bit about West Jones and Petal down in his neck of the woods.
Yeah, big matchup in the Pine Belt. We're going to be down covering South Jones and Long Beach while that one's going on. Just kind of had a balancing act to try to get teams covered over here in Jones County. But with that matchup with Petal, guys, this is going to be a really good one. I know that the result against Wayne County is probably not what people wanted from a West Jones perspective, being just a 1-point margin of victory. It was a little bit of a rough final quarter of that one defensively, and they're hoping that that's not the same woes they'll see against Petal whenever they have to travel down the road to Forest County next week. But with this Petal squad, the key is going to be, can they guard Chandler Watson? And for what I've seen so far, they have the corners that other teams have not had when they face West Jones. Watson, a really terrific wide receiver that Judy Lindsay can find at any given point. He's got 10 touchdowns over the last 3 games. But if West Jones can keep their balanced offensive attack going, if they can keep their footing defensively, they're going to make it a really good ball game. I think Petal could possibly get the edge in this one because they've done so well lately, especially with their big win over Clinton last week and a good come-from-behind victory over Gulfport 2 weeks ago. I don't know what you could ask for anything more in such a good ball game.
All right. Thank you, Caleb. Well, that's going to wrap up the fourth quarter of our podcast today. You know, we take a look at all the big games. If you have a big game that you think that, you know, you want to talk about or you think's big, be sure to comment. X, State Champ Radio, or Facebook, State Championships Radio Network. Comment on the comments on YouTube and just let us know where you're going to be this week. But we're not done yet because every game here on the Varsity Voices podcast has overtime. So we have to go to overtime and see how bad Breck did in the Pick'em this week. So we'll be back right after this here on the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire.
At Fowler GMC, our customers have been our priority for over 70 years. That same dedication happens today as we offer a wide range of options to cater to every taste and budget. Whether you're looking for a luxurious and versatile SUV or a powerful truck, we have it all. Our knowledgeable team is here to assist you every step of the way, and we are committed to providing fast and courteous service. Visit us today and experience the difference for yourself. Trust, service, and selection. Fowler GMC.
3rd and 6 from the 40-yard line.
Sure, you ready for this?
He takes a snap, drops back.
What's the right situation for a flea flicker?
They should have been in nickel defense.
There's a nickel and a dime?
Now for a proper bull rush start of 3-point stance.
What a disastrous play call.
Ready or not, here we go.
Hey, Dad.
You can call me Coach.
It's amazing what C Spire's nationwide 5G network can connect. C Spire, inspired by you.
Elegance is in the details. Pine Straw America's premium longleaf pine straw subscription ensures your landscape stays pristine season after season. Precision edging, flawless installation, because your home deserves nothing less. Pine Straw America.
And welcome back in to the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire. It's overtime. And remember that this segment is brought to you by Fowler GMC and the drive to the championships. Fowler GMC in Pearl, building their reputation on trust, serving Mississippi since 1953. And we also want to remind you that when you make that drive to the championship, go ahead and stay at the Hilton Garden Inn in Starkville. You'll be right there, very close to Davis Wade Stadium, not too far at all. And it's a great place to stay for the championships. And by that time, I might be in last place by that weekend, so I don't know. Yeah, they might have something for me to do because we still haven't figured out what we're doing for the loser of the Pick'em. But as it stands right now, I'm still way on the bottom. And Brandon Davis, he is in the lead here in our Pick'em. And so it's something fun that we do. Got to say thank you to Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hoseman was our guest picker this week. We appreciate him for making his time. His team was really, really fun to work with. They're really excited about being the guest picker, and they really love sports just like all of us. It was football in Mississippi. It was a great football weekend. So we appreciate Delbert Hoseman for being our guest picker. And we will go ahead and take a look at the Week 6 Pick'em presented by Pine Straw of America. You can keep your yard looking perfect all year long with Pine Straw of America. Experts in premium longleaf pine straw. Join the exclusive subscription program and enjoy fresh, flawless straw on schedule every season. Pine Straw of America, fresh year-round. You can check out their 4.9 out of 5 reviews on Google. So let's jump right in to the picks. And since Brandon is in the lead, he gets to go first. And so, Brandon, first game we're going to talk about two teams that you're really high on. I know D'Iberville and West Harrison, both teams undefeated at 5-0. Who you taking?
Well, we're off this week, Warren Central, so this is going to be a game that I'm likely going to be streaming and watching throughout the night. You have D'Iberville, you have strength versus strength. West Harrison, Jordan Stapleton with just a daunting rushing attack, and then you have D'Iberville that I think maybe is one of the best defenses in the state. Caleb Triplett at linebacker, a kid that we highlighted in our all-state preseason team, and then KJ Washington, and we've talked about him numerous times. He leads the state in sacks right now. He has 9 on the season. This D'Iberville defense has 15 so far on the season. I'm going to take defense in this one, so give me D'Iberville on the road in the upset.
Okay, so Brandon Davis taking D'Iberville. Jared Schatz, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going with Davis. D'Iberville, they're a hair more balanced, and I use that very loosely. They're both, they don't throw the football, but why throw the football when you can run it and play defense? And I'm with him. I'm with Davis. I think the D'Iberville defense is going to be the difference in this ball game. They can throw it a little bit more when they have to compared to West Harrison. And look, I love the West Harrison story this year. 5-0, mean rushing attack. 328 yards a game with Stapleton and McInnes. I mean, they can run the ball with several guys, but I just think that D'Iberville defense is going to be way too much.
We got 2 people taking D'Iberville. Wimberly, what about you?
I'm going to have to go against the grain here. I'm going to go with West Harrison. You're talking about a team that scored 194 points this year. They've given up 83. It's a new game in town, so give me West Harrison. I mean, I like D'Iberville. I had a chance to see them over the last several years just because in, playoffs, Region 3 versus Region 4. But give me West Harrison in this ballgame.
Okay, so Wimberly going against the grain. How about you, Caleb Hamill, our producer? What are you thinking for this game?
I'm with Wimberly right there. I like West Harrison. I think they're going to keep the train rolling all the way to maybe the Ocean Springs game. That may be the one where they trip up, but they're rolling. I'm going to keep them rolling.
All right, Caleb. And for me and my pick, I'm sticking with D'Iberville. I also really like what the Warriors are doing there. So give me D'Iberville. Moving on, our next game going to be Oxford at Madison Central. The Chargers versus the Jaguars. We talked about it a little bit previously, but Brandon Davis, what are you thinking in that one?
Well, I had the privilege of watching and seeing Madison Central this past week. I love Toby Collins, that coaching staff over there. Madison Central's young, but they are improving. They're a team that Shots have said it before, get them now. But they are improving. However, I like Oxford. I think Chris Cutcliffe is maybe one of the best strategist coaches in the state. I know he's one of the better coaches at making adjustments at halftime. So I'm going to give it to Chris Cutcliffe because he does a great job with those kids in big games. So I'm taking Oxford in this game.
All right, Shots, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going with the Chargers. Chris Cutcliffe, Drew Dean, that we talked about, the yards they're putting up, 401 yards a game. Madison Central, they're getting better, but I don't know if they've gotten better soon enough on offense. Defensively, yeah, they can create some havoc. We've talked about that, but I just think Drew Dean and this crew, he likes to throw it to Kingston Gregory. Really good football team with Oxford, and they've got one of the chess masters. So give me the Chargers.
Wimberly, Chargers or Jaguars?
Yeah, I'm going with the Chargers as well. I mean, this is a team that went toe-to-toe with Tupelo. They seem to have, one of the better rosters that they've had in a number of years. We've seen them play in some state championships over the last 10 years. But, yeah, I like Oxford here. I think this year they could be the class of Region 2 7A.
All right, Caleb Hamill, what are you thinking? You thinking Chargers or are you going to go with your alma mater, the Jaguars of Madison Central?
Hard is strong with this one. They do have home field advantage, and maybe to break up the monotony, I'll go ahead and say Madison Central.
I picked against the Chargers last week. I picked against the Oxford Chargers last week, then took the Grenada Chargers. Not doing that again this week. I'm rolling with Oxford in the ball game this week. And now we got one down in South 4A, Poplarville and Macomb. Macomb off to a 5-0 start. Poplarville 3-2, but they played a brutal schedule. So Brandon Davis, what do you think about this one?
Macomb's a good story, and I know that they had an impressive win over Old Brook. I do think that Old Brook was probably looking ahead of that game, looking to Northwest Rankin the following week. But Poplarville, they're going to be upset because they lost a very close one to Picayune the past week. And Ty Keys, he's one of the best backs in the entire country. I think he may be one of the leading backs in the country right now. So I know it's on the road for Poplarville, but I'm going to take the Hornets and Jay Beach's bunch to go to Macomb and get the win.
Davis is going with the Hornets. What about you, Shots?
Yeah, I'm going with the Hornets too, and I'm with Davis as well. Macomb, a really good story this year. I know the Brookhaven win was massive, but I just think Poplarville's schedule has been a lot tougher. They've been challenged more often, and I think it's just going to be hard for them to adapt to this old school running attack. They get a week to prepare for this. Does Macomb, and man, it's just something that's very hard to simulate in practice. And I really think with Poplarville, they really hit their stride in district every year. And I think this story is going to be the same story this year as it has been in the past.
So Wimberley, Poplarville, or are you going with the home team in Macomb?
Yeah, I'm going to make it a 3 for 3. Give me Poplarville, just the way they play football, the way that they can run the football. It's a very tough scheme, as Jared said, to get prepared for in 1 week. This is where they make their money. They're used to this. Look, Macomb is a team that'll be in the playoffs, but give me Poplarville in this one.
All right, Caleb Hamill, what are you thinking, Poplarville or Macomb?
I'll keep it rolling. Give me Poplarville.
Well, for me, I'm going to take Macomb because before the season started, when we started looking at 4A North and 4A South, I had said I think Macomb can surprise a lot of people in the South this year. So I am going to take Macomb in this ballgame. As you guys mentioned, they did get the big upset over Brookhaven.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we're going with some smaller schools. You got Biggersville and Baldwin. Baldwin, the defending 1A state champs, a team that we haven't really talked about a lot, but they are 5-0. And Biggersville, we've talked about them some. They've beat some bigger competition, and they're only a few years removed from winning a state championship as well. So Biggersville and Baldwin. Brandon, what are you rolling with?
This is going to be a fun game, and it's going to probably could potentially be a high-scoring game with both these offenses. But I like the job that first-year coach Neil Allen has done at Baldwin this year. They're 5-0, as you talked about. Of course, they're going up against a 4-1 Biggersville bunch. But this Bearcat defense from Baldwin is only yielding 11 points a ball game. So give me Baldwin at home over Biggersville.
Okay, so Biggersville or Baldwin? Jared Schatz.
Yeah, I think Davis steals my homework. I think that's why he's a game up on me right now. Very similar thought process on this ball game. Biggersville, a quality squad, 4-1 on the year. Big win against an Alcorn Central team, last week. But their only blemish was a very, very good East Webster team, 54-14. And I'm like Davis. The Baldwin defense is just a little bit better. And when it comes down to a ball game like that, I always look to defense, who can run the football. Both of these squads are pretty evenly matched, but I think that Baldwin defense will give them the edge just a little bit. But I think this is going to be a very close ball game.
So Wimberley in the Battle of the Bees, Biggersville or Baldwin?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Baldwin as well. When you look at what they've done defensively, 4 ball games at 14 points or under defensively. Gave up 14 in the first 2 ball games, Boonville and Kossuth. Also just 9 against Mooreville. East Union. They shut out East Union. So, again, love their defense, love what they're doing defensively. Should be a great ball game, but give me Baldwin in this ball game.
All right, Caleb Hamill, throw it to you. Biggersville, Baldwin.
Man, I love this matchup, and it's a shame that they are in the same classification because this could be a rematch in the playoffs because these two are great. Heck, I'll keep it rolling just for the sake of keeping it with everybody else. Baldwin.
All right, Caleb. And this one was a hard one for me because these are the last 2 1A state champs, right? We know what Baldwin did last year against Simmons, and we've seen what Biggersville can do. But I picked against Baldwin earlier this year when they played Boonville. Don't want to make that mistake again. So I am taking Baldwin and the Bearcats to remain undefeated. We're going to stay in sort of the small school ranks with Clarkdale and Bay Springs. Clarkdale is 5-0, a great story. We've talked about them some here on the podcast. Them being a baseball school, right? They got to go 5-0, but Bay Springs, they played in, they're staple at the state championships as well. They're Forward Woods. So Brandon Davis, what are you looking for out of this one? The Battle of the Bulldogs.
I don't know. I'm just going to be honest with you. I mean, this is a flip of a coin for me. Rob Roberts, we talked about him last week. He's just done a great job with this bunch over at Clarkdale. They've got a back named Leland Harris. He's got almost 500 yards on the season. They run on him. He's their horse. But Bay Springs, the thing that I like about Bay Springs is they're more experienced. They've been in these moments more than what Clarkdale's been in. Junior back Malachi Owens, he's averaging about 160 yards rushing on the game, each game. With this game being at Bay Springs and also another Nugget, Bay Springs is 16-0 against Clarkdale, I got to take the more experienced Bay Spring team.
All right, so Jared Schatz, which Bulldogs are you taking?
That's a great question. I'm about to make a decision and just flip and see what color, what shade it's going to land on as far as what Bulldog squad I'm going to take. I'm with Davis on that. Clarkdale offense, man, they've put up 200 points in their 6 wins, and they're only giving up 50. But Davis makes a good point. Bay Springs is more experienced. We've seen them in a couple of state titles here in the last few years. So their offense they've only scored 112 points and they've given up 73. But I think the opponents have been a hair better for Bay Springs, and I think the experience factor is whatever. I was going to go to Clarkdale. I almost pulled the trigger. Give me Bay Springs. I just went back and forth 3 times there.
Now, we could do rock, paper, scissors, and just do that and let fate decide if you want to do.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
I almost pulled it on Clarkdale, and I think it'll be a very, very close game. But give me Bay Springs.
All right. So Wimberley, which one of the Bulldogs are you taking?
Well, I'm gonna have to go against Jared and Davis just because I need to pick up points. Give me Clarkdale. I mean, it's a coin flip ball game, so I'll take the Clarkdale version of the Bulldogs and hoping of gaining a game on these two guys.
All right, Wimberley playing a little bit of chess when everybody else is playing checkers. Caleb Hamill, what about you in the Battle of the Bulldogs?
Yeah, I mean, it's a coin flip. Just about all these games are, really. So I do think Clarkdale has been a great story recently. So I like them.
All right, Caleb, and same thing for me. Clarkdale, Bay Springs is just one of those pick your poison right there. But much like Wimberley, I need to make up some ground, so I'm going to go with Clarkdale and take that version of the Bulldogs. Jumping back up into a little bit of the larger classification, Pass Christian and Greene County. Pass Christian is 4-1. Greene County also 4-1. We have one of Greene County's finest here with us, and we'll let him pick first. Brandon Davis.
Oh my God! Hey, this is going to be a shootout, and it could be whoever has the ball last wins it, almost like in basketball. Quarterback at Pass Christian, I love him. We've talked about him. I've watched a lot of tape on him. Junior quarterback Paris Trillion, 1,059 yards and 17 touchdowns so far on the season. He's a junior. He's going to be one of the top quarterbacks in the state next year. Jace Matthews, we know about him, one of the best receivers in the country, committed to Auburn down at Greene County. Teams have bottled him up this year. Gage Stinson at quarterback's done a nice job. They bottled him up. It's allowed for Cordarius Moulton to have a breakout year. So with this game being at home, Greene County coming off a big win over Gaucher, I'm going to take my Wildcats of Greene County this week.
Okay, so Greene County, Brandon Davis went with the alma mater, but earlier Schatz didn't go with the alma mater. He didn't go with Madison Central over Oxford. So Schatz, what are you taking?
Well, I mean, first off, don't wish that voodoo on the finest from Greene County, one of the finest. I mean, Brandon Davis. I mean, there's somebody better from down there.
Remember, he's our lawyer, right?
I'm the best.
He's our lawyer. He's our defense attorney. Right? So I mean, we got to do something.
I'm going with Pass Christian. I think the Pirates are. I think they're ready to take them out. I think this would be a huge win for that program. 4-1 overall coming into this first district ball game. This is going to be a really good football game. I think the quarterback position is what's going to give it. When I was researching these two, and I know Davis has got some insider information down there on his squad, but I'm with Davis. I think the quarterback position is really where Pass Christian with Tribble. What's his last name? I can't remember.
Trillion.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting one. How you get that out of that? Oh, Trillion, man, he's got some good numbers on the year. 17 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The kid's just efficient. He's very efficient with the football, and you look at how many guys are touching the football for him. They have a lot of guys run the football, and they spread it out. So I like Trillion and Pass Christian to win this ball game.
Okay, so you talk about people from Greene County. I know B.J. Johnson's a wide receiver for Holmes Community College. He's also one of the finest from Greene County. Dante Moncrief's nephew. right? And BJ's having a great year for the Bulldogs. So there's another one of the finest from Greene County. But we'll jump back over to Jake Wimberly and see what he thinks about Pass Christiana versus Greene County.
Yeah, give me Greene County in this one. I like their offense a little bit better. I like the way that they're playing. I think they played a little tougher schedule, so I'm going to go with Brandon Davis's alma mater, as since he's, the king of Greene County. We'll go with the King's pick.
There you go.
The honorable Brandon Davis. All right, Caleb Hamill, what are you thinking? Pass Christiana, Greene County?
Man, great insight, guys. I'm going reflex here. Let's do Greene County, home team.
All right, thank you, Caleb. And I'm also going to go with Greene County. Can't go against my man, Brandon Davis. As I said, he's our defense attorney, and you know how we get on the weekends. We might need a good defense attorney. So give me Greene County. And finally, we're right here in my neck of the woods, the Ethel Tigers and the McAdams Bulldogs. We mentioned earlier the podcast how the teams from Atala County, Kosciuszko, Ethel, McAdams, 13-1 on the season. And so Ethel and McAdams, they call this the Atala County Super Bowl. McAdams is 4-0. They did have a bye week. And then Ethel is at 4-1. So Brandon Davis, Tigers or Bulldogs?
I just first off want to say this is going to be a great celebration for Atala County. You love to see all the teams. Kosciuszko obviously is doing extremely well, and then to see the two smaller teams having success is just kudos. And it's going to be. I wish I was there Friday night. This is going to be probably an electric atmosphere for those kids in these communities. But I don't pick against Junior Graham, Hall of Fame coach. He's got it going up there. Zantavius Clark. At running back, and of course Matt Arnold, a kid that we picked. I love Matt Arnold at wide receiver, so I'm going to stick with the visiting team. Give me Ethel.
Okay, so shots. What are you looking at, Tigers or Bulldogs?
Yeah, I mean, McAdams' defense is only giving up 14 points a ball game, so I started there, and then I started, obviously going down some of my checkpoints, and Zandavius Clark, obviously the running back from Ethel, and 122 yards on the ground per ball game. And then, that ground attack in general is averaging 256 yards a ball game. So they are very physical in the ground and pound. So give me Ethel.
Okay, so shots going with the Tigers. 2 for Ethel. How about you, Jake Wimberly? Ethel or McAdams?
Well, I'm going to have to go with the Bulldogs in this. They've given up just 54 games, as Jared said. They have really, done a great job of the schedule so far. And this again will be a fantastic matchup. But out of the sake of needing another ball game, and I like this team, give me the Bulldogs in this one.
McAdams getting one on the board there. How about you, Caleb Hamill? Ethel or McAdams?
I feel like I could go either 7-0 or 0-7 with all this. But I'll tell you what, I'm with Davis. Don't pick against Junior Graham. Give me Ethel. And, Coach, sorry, you got a majority of them. If you're superstitious, be like Ray Stevens and don't look Ethel.
All right, Caleb. And I talked to both of these coaches. The day we were recording this podcast, talked to both of them. They sent me their recaps from their ball games each and every week. Junior Graham, and as I said, the best name for a coach for McAdams, T.D. Grays, right? I mean, how great of a name is that for a coach? But Brandon, you alluded to it. It will be an electric atmosphere. Nobody does it quite like McAdams. They had a homecoming a few weeks ago, and they do it right there in McAdams. But the injury bug has kind of hit McAdams for a little bit, right? And so they got some key players that are might be questionable or out for this ball game. And so that's going to lead me to go with Junior Graham and the Ethel Tigers in this one. But I'm thinking close. I mean, I'm thinking like 21-20, something like that, 24-21, some kind of score like that. Very, very close ball game this week in the Atala County Super Bowl. But give me the Ethel Tigers. Well, that wraps up our Pick'em presented by Pine Straw of America. And it also wraps up the podcast for this week. So be sure to like and subscribe on whichever platform, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, iTunes podcast, wherever it might be, and give us a like and a rating. And also, we want to continue to hear from you. So if you have a play of the game, if you're a broadcaster, send us your radio link or your video stream link, or even if you're just a kid and there's not even any commentary, but it's a huddle clip, and it's a really, really good play. I got a text on my phone while we were recording this of just a huddle clip of a great play that a coach sent me from one of his kids. And so we'll get that put into the podcast, sprinkle it in throughout the podcast. Caleb does a great job of that, but you can do it at State Champ Radio on X or State Championships Radio Network on Facebook.
Yeah, I was going to say, also subscribe, like, and share. I'll send you a T-shirt. We'll send you T-shirts. Look, we just really appreciate all the fans of the state of Mississippi that take in this content every week. Y'all are the best, and we want to reward you guys. So we've got some T-shirts made for you, and subscribe, and we'll draw a name out of the hat and send you one.
Mm-hmm. Get that put in the mail. Well, that does do it for us. So for Brandon Davis, Jared Schatz, Jake Wimberly, and Caleb Hamill, our producer, I'm Breck Riley, and saying you've been listening to the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire.
Genuine Mississippi, grown and raised and crafted, made genuine Mississippi.